Some people are handed a blueprint for life. Immigrant hustle, small town ceilings, expectations set in stone. But these two, they chose to rewrite it. Building experience in real estate and in life. Chris Andrade and Antonio Henriques are here to share the stories that prove what's possible. Real stories, real strategies, real impact. This is Rewrite the Legacy.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 1 of Rewrite the Legacy podcast. Super excited to have you guys checking in with us. My name is Chris, along with Antonio, and this is something we've been talking about doing for a really, really long time. And obviously, with coming across Antonio, and we're both in the same industry, we said, hey, listen, a podcast is our opportunity to kind of reach out to the masses and get people maybe in a similar situation to how we were brought up, or even maybe they want to explore a career path in real estate. Just glad to be here. I mean, we're live in Woodbridge.
Too. Yeah.
Live in Woodbridge. Woodbridge is a special place for me because this is where I grew up. This is where it all started. Just growing up in this area, I thought it was, it's pretty cool to shoot here. First episode. You want to talk a little bit about, why would you introduce yourself first? Start with that.
Well, my name is Antonio Henriques. I've been a realtor for about 10 years. It's crazy to even think about 10 years. Full time. I worked in corporate America for decades, managing offices and teams and storefronts and all that. And then I dipped into real estate about 2016, and it just kind of took off from there. Sold my first house my first week, and been doing that ever since. And then recently linked up with you. Yeah, which is wild.
With such similar backgrounds and stories,
it's so really crazy, man.
And here we are. I mean, we're hitting the ground running.
We decided on this podcast. We have been talking about it for a while, and I feel like our just energies and mindset kind of links up, and we just kind of produce things really quickly. So it's good to have someone with the like mindset. In this business, it's hard to kind of find those people and those. The right people that kind of link with you and understand exactly how you operate and vice versa, and the energies all kind of sink in, and you just do wonderful things together. So
yeah, I mean,
that's what I like about it.
For sure. And once we started talking, we started having really, really similar backgrounds. I mean, we're both Portuguese. We're both from Jersey. A lot of different things, and one of the main things we always talked about and we laugh about is our upbringing. And I'm sure many people are like first generation or similar situations like that, could relate to some of the stuff we say. And coming back to it, when we were talking about podcasts, because this has always been on my radar, right? It's like, how are we going to go about it? What's going to be the story? Like, again, we didn't want to do like the typical corny stuff.
Yeah, no.
We want it to be different, and I think really why, and maybe you could chime in on this a little bit.
Yeah, it's about not only just a podcast, it's more about like just lifestyle and work and talking about how to get to that next level. Just not, I feel like the same. What I see on social media is with real estate related, it's just all real estate, all about the market, all about statistics and how to be, the beast within and all that. But it's more on a different scale where it's real estate related. It's about achieving your dreams, how to get there, but also lifestyle and real life issues that, sometimes, especially in this business, it's so 24/7. You're connected. You're dealing with not only just contracts and negotiations, but you're dealing with, family pressures and so many other things that kind of come into it. And I think both me and you combined 20 years of experience within the real estate market. We know how to, and the real estate field industry as a general point, how to manage, friendships, how to manage your own business, but also how to manage your lifestyle, your family, and kind of make sure that you're balanced. And the podcast is just to encourage and help people that are looking to get in the industry, but also to help people who are in the industry managing all those things. Again, not just clients, not just your business, but your whole life. And we'll talk about our experiences and just fun stuff. And it'll get nuts a little later. And that's what it's all about. It's all about having fun, working hard and having fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, real estate was our vehicle that really broke, breaking the mold, breaking the cycle. But real estate's really, because very similar to my background. Like, again, I woke up and I talked a little bit about my mom, but the whole point of this show is how we were brought up, right? And a lot of people, like, I want to speak to people that maybe have a similar story to yours, similar story to mine. They're maybe trying to break out of whatever situation they're in, right? Maybe they're in that corporate hamster wheel, or maybe their parents only worked regular corporate jobs and they work all day. Like, for example, like, I love to use my mom. Like, she worked 3 or 4 jobs. Like, growing up, all I knew was work, work, work. And that's why you and I get along great. It's just built into the culture. But eventually, you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? When you're at a certain age, you say, listen, you grow up in it, you appreciate it when you get older. Obviously, when you're in it, it sucks. But that's the big thing that I want to touch upon in the first episode, is about, like, what really was that point for us where you say, listen, enough is enough. How could I be an entrepreneur? How could I step out of what my family's taught me, And, you talked a little bit about real estate. That was something that I just kind of done on my own. I mean, you touch based on the culture, which is a very valid point. I mean, my mom was a factory worker, machine operator, a factory worker. Yeah. I mean, they don't build them like that anymore.
She was tough. I mean, she worked, sometimes Saturday through Saturday. Sundays were her day off. And then sometimes she would work overtime on Sunday if it was available. So that's what I was used to growing up. And then my dad, which they're still together. They've been married a very long time.
It's wild.
It's wild to even think about. But they, my dad was a construction worker, and that was his life too. So they were both always working. All I knew was work. No one was in the house at like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's wild. You know what's wild, dude? And it cracks me up. Like, and in this field, like, we'll go into someone's house and it's like everyone's home.
Yeah.
It's like 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Everyone's home. And it's so wild to me because, like, now, well, obviously the jobs change and things and life has changed since then. But since when I was a kid and my parents used to work, but, like, no one was ever home.
Yeah.
We would, my mom would get home like 4 or 5 o'clock. My dad sometimes earlier from construction. And then it was just like, she would start cooking dinner and doing all that stuff. We would do our homework. She would yell and bitch at us about something funny. But the point is, like, no one was home. So growing up, that's all I knew. It was, and like you said, it's part of the culture. I mean, even my other friends that I known that were Portuguese, I mean, their parents, it was the same thing. It wasn't weird. It was just, that's the way it was. And then my older sister took care of us. Like, she was our babysitter and stuff like that. So my mom got a free babysitter out of it. But
and that's the same thing you saw day after day.
Day. It was just, they were always grinding, always working. And they come from, which I'm sure your heritage was the same thing, like my grandparents. I'm first generation American, so my parents came here as immigrants, and then their parents, they were farmers, so they were raised in farmland, with pigs, chickens, ducks, cutting down cornfields and all that and all that jazz. But that's where they come from. It was true purebred farmers. That's where we come from. Like, and when I go back to Portugal and I go there and I look at where they were raised, I mean, it's humbling. It's a humbling experience to see that. So that the mindset was, when they came here, was they wanted to provide a better life for their children and their family, and it was all hard work, and that's all they knew. It was do the right thing, be honest, don't screw anyone over, put your head down, and just work.
Yeah, and that's a great story, because I remember when we first were talking about that, you were talking about how your mom, like, the big thing was get a job, put your head down, get medical benefits. And
medical and dental benefits. That was the thing. That was isn't that funny?
Yeah. And when you're out of it, like, it's just like crazy. But again, you don't know what you don't know in life, right? And this is what they were brought up in, and they do their best to try to guide you. But it takes, and that's the beautiful thing. Like, that could have been your legacy. Like,
but you know what's funny though? Like, she said that growing up, like, she would mention that, and it came from a good place. It wasn't in a place. It was just more of a protection thing. Like, don't try to be so ambitious, because sometimes the biggest fall the hardest. Keep your head down, do your best, work hard, and just as long as you have enough money for bills and that life, like, you're fine. But then as I got older in life, I realized, like, I wanted more. We talked about this. Like, even when I was a young kid, I always wanted more, and I've always wanted to achieve greater success than what I had. And we had a good life. We got everything we needed and wanted, really. But I just always wanted more. And then my mom, ironically, when I was in corporate, and I told her, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like I did real estate. I went to the school, and then I started a part-time, very short part-time though. I sold my first house my first week, and when I got a bite of that apple,
that was it.
And I told her, I said, I don't want this life anymore. I was making good money and all that, but she's the one who told me, no risca, no ptishka.
There you go.
You know, so if you don't risk it, you don't eat. So she's the one who said that. And right when she said that, I was like, yo, I'm out, and then did it full time.
Yeah, and you know what I love about especially Portuguese moms, like the sayings, like you always talk about them, like they're so true. You hear them all the time, but it's real life stuff that they just passed on for years.
It's just like one-liners. It's always like those one-liners, but they hit like so many things.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you're young, you're just sick and tired of hearing it. And it's crazy. We talk about, not to sound like an old man, but how fast life goes, and these years are so precious, and being present, now. And that's why this is something that's been on the back burner for a while. And I'm glad we took some time today to at least, dive into it. And the big thing I wanted to take time to talk about too is like what our goal is like for this podcast, right? We're going to bring on guests like week after week or episode after episode. Just, we want to click with people that maybe are in a situation, and then whoever we interview at the time, like what did they do to break out of that? Like because a lot of people, for example, like you heard Antonio's story, very, very similar to mine, but again, like real estate, everyone hears about real estate. They think it's like HGTV. They think it's going to be easy, and again, to make a career, especially 10 years, is very, very difficult. I mean, my mom's been in the business for 20 years, and I grew up around real estate. That's really how I got my taste of it as a young kid. I didn't really understand it. I just sat in the car. I went on showings, the whole bit. But
did she have the binders?
The binders. Oh man, back in the day, she used to have to bring people into the office, and they used to actually be able to look at listings in office. That was before Zillow and everything else. So. And just the way the showings, and she started in like Perdamble in these different towns and tenants, and nobody speaking English, but she always navigated. And again, the grit that their parents have, that rubs off on you. Like, I don't know, like I remember, like imagine having to drag around your two kids, you're doing showings, like we see it now, opening up doors, keeping us in the car, checking the car, make sure no one's messing with us, and then still trying to close the deal.
And then driving from so many different locations, like it's wild to me.
Yeah, and that's, but again, that's why now, having a kid and stuff, like I want her to be a part of what I do, because that stuff rubs off in your environment's really important. And we talked about the environment, and that's one of the key things about this podcast too, is different people come from different moldings, different upbringings, different environments, and a lot of times people are too scared to take that jump, right? Or maybe they don't know. So the goal of this is kind of exposing and ripping back the curtain, opening the hood, or whatever they call it, to really show people that what's possible. And again, real estate was my vehicle. I didn't work a corporate background. Thank God I've never worked a regular W-2 job in my life. It's just the way things played out. I just always been a grinder. I love the freedom. That's probably why you got into this too.
That's exactly why I got into it.
It gets nerve-wracking at times when you're on your own. It's just you in that battle.
It's your back against the wall.
Yeah, and that's what sometimes keeps you hungry. And luckily, I've always worked odd jobs. I've shoveled snow. I did landscaping. I just did whatever to cash jobs. And then I got into music industry really, really young. And again, my father's from Brazil, and he's heard me being a DJ right away. He's like, what do you mean you want to be a DJ? They think you're going to go do drugs and be out of peas all the time. So that was a tough mold to break, and had to explain to him, listen, I'm around good guys. I'm doing weddings, making money. And that's how I started. And I told you, oddly enough, I was at a holiday party, which was my mom's holiday party, and her broker's like, you got what it takes. I'm going to pay for you to go to real estate school. And I was like, I don't want to be a realtor. I've been around it my whole life, and the rest was history. That was 2016. And real estate's a great business because, especially, again, you can use your upbringing to your benefit, because how we grew up, you learn how to talk and deal with so many different cultures, which I think is one of the most important things in sales, is being able to connect and relate to all different backgrounds. All
different cultures is the biggest thing. I mean, you're working, and you're going into people's homes that have different belief system, different cultures, different vibes. Like you have to be able to connect on that factor. And another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about too is like, everyone thinks just because you see someone else who's a realtor who's successful and doing all these deals and making, having this busy life, like, I see a lot of, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people, especially new agents, they come in for it just for the easy money or the freedom, and they come in and they don't even last three or 6 months, and they're out. And I think, it's very important to understand that I feel like this industry at times is not taken seriously, like a regular actual job, right? But it's serious, and it's serious in the fact that you're dealing with people's one of people's biggest investments, which is their homes. So you have to operate it like a business and treat it like a business. This is not just like a career, you know what I mean? That's why I never wanted to come into it full time. I put a lot of pressure on myself to like learn it, understand contracts, understand the verbiage and all that, because I was always afraid of like screwing up a client's investment. So it's, you know, real estate is a great business to get into, but that's not the only business to get into. You know, if you want to do sales and I was in sales, I was in luxury goods. That's what what the companies I used to work with sold, and that was fun for me at that time. And I liked structure, and I liked being in a place at a certain time. But you know, people look at this business as, you know, oh, I want to be a realtor. I want to be a realtor. Like it's like a flea market. Like it's like candy. Like I wanted to. And then they get into it and they hate it. They have a bad taste in their mouth. And again, not one thing is good for everyone. Everyone's different. Figure out what you like to do. If it's sales, maybe it's not real estate. Maybe it's selling. You know, it's selling other things. But it's not just real estate. Just because you think everyone's doing it, it's not necessarily great for you, is my point.
Yeah, and I mean,
you know?
Based on your experience, like if somebody, again, maybe they just got licensed or are thinking about doing, like, what do you think makes a top producing platinum realtor like yourself? Like, what does it take? At least give me like the first 6 months to a year. Like, what do you think to even step into this business? What's needed? I mean, hard work, we talked about that, but what would you say?
Thick skin, and be tough. Be tough. Don't be weak.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what makes you stick out too.
Yeah, it's work. I mean, you can't complain. The first word that comes to mind is grit. You got to have grit. I mean, everyone says they have it. There's a lot of people that say they have it. I'm tough, I'm grit. And then you go 3 to 4 months without a paycheck.
Yeah.
I'll show you real quick how quickly you will complain.
When your money's on the line, you're going to see how much emotion gets into play.
You know, people get very emotional with that, and then they quit or they back out or they, you know. So it's about work. It's about grinding. It's about stop complaining that you have a buyer who wants to see a property. It's an hour away. Go. You just got into it. Go. You want to be successful, learn the areas, learn the environment. You can't be stuck. Me personally, everyone has their opinion, but me personally, I never wanted to be just farming one little town, just be in that little town, work in that town. You know, I loved what I did, and I loved meeting people, so many buyers from so many different cultures, and some cultures want to be in certain areas and vice versa. So I went everywhere. I learned Union County, Essex County, Sussex County, Atlanta, you know, Ocean County. I loved all of that, and I never complained about the time distance. The reason being was that I wanted to learn the industry and be as successful as I can in every single part of the counties. Yeah, and that's what made me who I am today. And I have, you know, as you know, I have so many clients everywhere because that's how I started my business. I went everywhere. I did everything. I touched every contract, no matter what, if the client, they were buying a $150,000 condo or a $2 million house. I touched everyone. I wanted to work with everyone, not touch everyone, but you know what I mean? Yeah. I wanted to work with everyone, and that's what I did. And that's where I see that some of the new agents, they look at what other people are doing, and that's the problem with social media, I think. Yeah. You're always looking at what someone else is doing, yourself, and you compare, and comparison will be definitely the end of you in this business. You can't do it.
That's one of the things I love that you always say is like, you never looking and comparing, like, you know, what other people are doing, and no. and you can't, because then it becomes discouraging. Then it comes back to the grit part. But one of the things we talked about yesterday, we were on the phone, and we always have really, really good conversations, especially when you get fired up when you wait to an appointment. And one of the things I think that you didn't really touch upon, I want to talk about, is really the mindset. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you do in life, whether it's real estate, whether it's being a father, mother, business owner, the mindset's the first thing. That's the thing you're in control of the most. And the things you say and the way you say it, it really resonates with me. There's things I know, but nothing like hearing it from somebody else. And just touch upon that a little bit, because yesterday we were talking about that mindset.
Yeah, well, I was a little fired up yesterday when we had that call, you know. So the thing is, in this business and in life in general, I think, you know, regardless of how you were raised or brought up or which family you were brought up with, I think the the mindset is very important. Your mindset is the only thing you really got. I mean, your health and your mindset, and that all goes hand in hand. But you have to be mentally strong. A lot of people go to the gym, they want to get as ripped in shape as possible. That's great. I do too. I haven't been, but I like to go. But the point is that that's all great. But if your mental is weak, and you're gonna always be in that state of mind of victim. Always, it's someone else's fault. There's no accountability for your actions and the way you think and the way you talk about yourself. And we were talking about this yesterday. Like, it's important to, even though everyone goes through shit in life. Everyone has problems. Everyone's going through something in life. It's just how you think about it and how to change your perspective to get you to the destination where you want to be. Everyone has bad days. I'm not saying like go happy, go lucky 100% of the time. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying is when you change the way you rewire your thinking, because what you think about ultimately becomes your reality. What you say about yourself, the way you talk about yourself, the way you always think about the day shifts your day. It shifts your perspective. It shifts your energy. And I've learned that, especially in this career, but later on, as I got older, like, that's really true. I used to hear it all the time, and I thought it was bullshit all the time.
You gotta be grateful.
You gotta be grateful. It's about like those little thoughts add up to big thoughts, and it changes your perspective. And when you change your perspective and change your thinking and be determined, you're gonna do it. Yeah. They used to tell me, you're not known. No one's gonna, join it, because I was pushed to, everyone, you should join a team, which nothing wrong with teams. It's great. No, seriously, it's really good. It's really good way to learn. Join a team. I highly recommend it, especially in today's market. But that's not what I wanted to do. And had I listened to everyone else, I would have. But the point is, I wanted to do it by myself, because I told myself in my head, I said, I already know I'm going to do it. I already know I'm going to be successful by myself. And I learned everything by myself. I learned the hardest shit by myself. And, was it challenging? Yeah, it was challenging, but I did it.
And the big thing,
you tell
too,
yourself.
It's true, and especially in this day and age, is so the environment, right? It's like, even you go on social media, it's like a powwow. People just complain. It's so easy, and I catch myself, especially now, being more conscious. Like, you're complaining, and the friend group you're around, and just being negative, and then you're just, at first it starts as joke, then it becomes reality, and it's so true, because I've experienced this firsthand. Like, you say one thing and then it starts compounding, and you're like, oh yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. I knew this wouldn't work out. I knew this deal, and you say a first joke and watch this deal not go together, and it does fall apart. And that's the big thing is the environment, and that's one of the main foundations of this podcast. While we started is the environment, right? You get to choose the legacy that was written out for you, meaning the environment you were born into, or you could choose to reshape that environment. And it's things like this. It's getting the content. It's listening to it. It's absorbing it. It's being around the right people. And I just have the mentality that no matter what I do in life, I want to be the best possible at it I can be, and
100%.
And that's why having the right friends, the right industry friends, you can't control your parents do, right? They are what they are, but you know what, knowing, hey, listen, be respectful one ear at the other, but at the end of the day, you got to protect that mind no matter what, because if not,
and we talked about it, and it's like, and that's why we created this podcast, because we had such a passion and a vision for like, even where me and you come from, and we talk about like the challenges and all that, and it's like, it's about like, not to be, no pun intended, but it's rewrite your legacy. It doesn't matter where you were brought up, who raised you, what you've been accustomed to, what friends you've been accustomed to. There's a lot of people sometimes that, you try to help as you get into another class and another level in life that just unfortunately cannot go with you. That I'm a big, I've dealt with that. And, I try to, sometimes you try to save people because you're like, oh, you feel that guilt. Like, we were raised in the same town and they know me when I had nothing and blah, blah, blah. And then you try to elevate. But what ends up happening is sometimes that person knew you at a certain area at a certain time in your life that maybe you were a negative person, or you had no aspirations at that time. That's how that person knows you. That's the box they keep you in. So what ends up happening is now you're at a different level because you got the right opportunities. You were around the different people who help elevate you, and now you go try to save that one person that knew you in that box at that time, and then it's like you start saying the same jokes and the same bullshit, and then what ends up happening is you start noticing yourself feeling like guilty, and then you start feeling yourself like not liking certain things, and that person is like hating on you in a certain way. So it's like you can't. It's very big. Your friend group is very big, and I'm a firm believer is some people, and that's okay. Some people know what they know, and they're okay being happy what they're doing. That's fine. That's true. But your friend groups are. I'm so big on friendships and so big on relationships, because surrounding yourself with the right people can do wonders for you. It could bring you to high new levels. I'm a first hand experience on that. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just say somebody wants to change their environment. I'm just thinking, like, our listener, like, what would be the first things you would do? I mean, there's a lot of networking groups or social media, but like, obviously our stories are crazy how we met years ago. But what do you recommend? Like, when people want to change their environment, and you're going to attract a certain person once you start grinding. That's just the reality. Like, if you're 100%. Hustling, people gravitate 100%. I know that. But what do you think some steps, like, think about you when you were younger, like, you grew up in a very urban area. I would call it urban, but Newark's great little town. But what would you do, tell yourself, like, how did you start getting to different circles to really navigate that process?
Just getting into the circles, I would say that we're doing what I wanted to do. Like, if I wanted, when I was 18, 19, I always wanted a corporate job. Like, that was the thing. I'm a college dropout, so school was not for me. I never liked school. I was forced to go. I was told, you got to go to school to get. Even if what I was told, actually.
What?
I was told, you don't have to love what you do. Just no one likes what they do.
Yeah.
But you got to go to school to get a job.
Yeah.
Right?
It's nuts.
It's crazy advice. But I was told that. Yeah. So I took that advice. I say, you know what? I'm gonna go to college, and then I was a dropout. I couldn't do it, and then so what I started doing is I started hanging out with people like that I met there, and then like that I knew, like I would meet along the way, that they had like good jobs, like they were either like sales reps or sales directors at the time, and I would just align myself with like people in certain industries that I wanted to be a part of, and then I would get invited into like friend groups and stuff like that, and then I would meet those people, I would learn from them, and then that's how I kind of started phasing out where I didn't want to be. And I started aligning where I wanted to be, and then that's how it kind of got me out of that rut. It's hard to say. One biggest thing is, I would say, is get out of where you live. When I was growing up, the minute I got my my mom will tell you this, the minute I got my driver's license,
you're out.
I was out. I didn't even want to be there. I didn't want, and not that it was bad or anything. It wasn't. The point is, I wanted to grow. I had that mindset. It's all about the mindset. And there was a lot of people doing shit that I didn't agree with, so I wanted to just get out and meet people.
It's true, and you don't really get to see until you step out where you're from and you see what's out there.
Yeah.
Your mind is mind-boggling.
Isn't it crazy?
It's wild. I mean, like I said, a couple of years back, I did a crazy move where I actually moved completely out of state. Got relicensed. I moved to Florida.
That's right.
I was born and raised in Jersey. This is all I knew. I grew up in Woodbridge Township, which we all know is a great town, but the people here, not all of them, right? My circle, all small-minded people, and then they heard when I moved to South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, like, oh my God. People thought I was like moving to Beverly Hills, like a big ordeal. And I never forget that. And again, I stepped out of that environment. And you really don't know the amount of wealth and the freedom there is to you around people who are driving Bentleys, Rolls Royces, yachts. I mean, and that's the thing. Yes,
they're having like wine at like 12 noon every day, right?
Dude, it's just hanging poolside, drinking champagne, and you feel like nobody works there. But that's one of the things we'll touch about, on a future episode as well, is just changing your environment. I think is important. And I'm glad you brought that up, because maybe even if it's, again, some people may not have the means to move out, right? It's very common. We see in the real estate bill, but again, it's getting out of those circles, get a car, go spend time in those different areas. You're going to get inspired no matter what. How'd you feel when you made that decision and you left, like your first day there? Were you like, how'd you feel? Well, it's a wild story, because this happened during the pandemic. I was doing really well. I was on a really good team, doing really well, doing a ton of transactions, making really good money. But it's something that's always on my radar. And I was the kind of guy, when I point, I shoot, and I go for it. So I went with my girlfriend, now wife. We went there, and within 5 days, I found a place to live. I found a brokerage, and I just picked up my whole life. And it was really, really sad. Because my mom's like an emotional person, but even my childhood friend, I remember him crying. I never seen him cry. And just leaving. I remember it hit me when I was on the airport. Like, all my stuff I shipped down there. I shipped my car, shipped everything down, and I just literally had a backpack with my laptop, which you laugh at, but I had that same backpack. That's why I haven't gotten rid of it. And our dog, the dog would even bring at the time. It was just my girlfriend and I. We moved into this apartment, And that's a huge reset for me because I didn't have any family there. I didn't have any friends, but it was the challenge. Like, I feel like that's what needed to be done. I'm one of those guys, and I'm hopefully somebody's on this call that can understand this. Like, I like a good challenge because you know what? When you accomplish things in life that's challenging, that builds your confidence like you would never believe. There's no drug. I mean, I'm not a drug addict, but there's no feeling or drug that feels great after you accomplish something you set out to do, you know, and picking up, rerouting myself there, new market, new laws,
no support system.
And that's the hardest thing. You're leaning on your partner, you're leaning on yourself, and that's really, really tough. And most relationships would fall apart. I mean, I'm still with my wife to this day, but that was definitely challenging. Talk about and I never moved out of my childhood home. That was like my first spot. But bringing back to your point is when you're in these different environments, things will fall into place in your mind. You have to it's that inner dog, it's that inner fight. Like, you're going to figure it out. It's the mindset every day. Of course, some days you walk out, it's 80 degrees, it's sunny out. It's so hard.
Who the hell wants to work?
Who the hell wants to, and that's very common in South Florida. You'd be surprised. Almost nobody works. But that's just the lifestyle there.
But again, it goes back to what we're talking about. Like, you rewrote, you rewired your brain, and the point is that you made that decision, and you went and you believed in yourself, and you did it.
Yeah.
And regardless of your experience, regardless of what it was, you learned, you set out and you did it, and that's what you pushed yourself to get out of your environment and go and grow. And I think that's amazing that you went and you grew and you knew. Now you know. You know, a lot of people don't do that.
No, they never do, because people want to see comfort. But and again, being comfortable is when you die. I hate to say it, but it's funny because as entrepreneurs, like, we're always seeking to get to that comfort level, but then you realize you never really ever will be comfortable. No matter what. Like, no. But the problem is that's what keeps you moving through life. Like, you could, whatever it is, growing your personal relationships or business, I think really striving and getting uncomfortable is where you do the most amount of growth. It's growing pains. It sucks. And when you're in it, you're like pissed, you're emotional, you get stressed. And I remember having heart palpitations, stressing out. I mean, your body, again, it comes down to the mind, right?
It's your mind. It's your mind playing tricks on you is what it is.
For sure.
That's what happens.
Your mind tells your body, hey, listen, you're under stress. And then everything starts
shutting down.
Starts shutting down. It's wild. But that goes down to the mindset. And that's why the goal of this podcast is to, maybe somebody is going through something just like this right now, and they're listening to, like, my God, I feel like this person's talking to me or talking to my situation. And the guests we're going to bring on people that...
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I think for the first episode, we really touched upon a little bit about us. It was really awesome. And just the goal of this podcast is giving you guys, the viewers, the tools of what it takes to rewrite the legacy, right? Yep. Just because you're born into a situation and all you know is your upbringing doesn't mean you can't do it. Especially in this day and age we live, we're in the United States of America. Yeah. We may have worldwide viewers, but I think it's important to be grateful for what you do have right now. You're breathing. Like you said the other day, there's a reason why we all woke up this morning, right? It's because we haven't accomplished out what was set for us and what's been written for us. And I think that's so true.
It is really true. It's about your mindset. It's about how to know you can do it. And everything seems scary, and the world's scary, and the world sucks. And all this. People have all these views about it. Life is not meant to be easy. Nothing's meant to be easy. It's supposed to be challenging. It's. I read this saying. I think it was on Instagram or something. It said. Life doesn't get harder. No, life doesn't get easier. Life doesn't get harder. You just become stronger or something like that. Life's not supposed to be easy. Things are not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and then you wouldn't be paid for your value, right? So like real estate, I look at, and I commend a lot of the good, successful realtors because, especially the solo agents who are just grinding it out day after day, and they're like these big, these very successful agents. It is hard. It's hard to be away from your families. It's hard to, you get in your car at 9 a.m. and then you're not back until 6 p.m. in your house, and really you're not even doing any work. You're just driving for showings and stuff like that. Like I give it up to these people because it's all about mindset and grit. You got to be tough, and that's the thing. It's about It's about being tough, and the tough will survive. And your mind, and that all comes to mindset as well. You got to be tough, and you got to understand that you will do it. Yeah, it's gonna suck, and we talked about that too. Like sometimes we bitch and complain about certain things.
Easy.
You know, it's okay to bitch and complain, but don't get in that so far into that rabbit hole where now you're getting like depressed and sick over it. Like, no, get through it. Get around a group of people that really fucking love you and really actually care about you. There's no egos. We talk about that all the time. Yeah. There's no egos. Like, just get around a good group of people, even if it's one person. Get around one person who can help elevate you to the next level, because all you need is one. It doesn't have to be 20, 30 fucking people. It's one person who could just get you to that next level. And when challenges do arise and you're feeling that type of way, that one person can get you out of that because they've been through it themselves. That's so important.
For sure.
That's so important.
Mindset and environment. We can talk about this for days.
Oh my God.
And again,
like Maria shit here.
Listen, but you hear it all the time, but a lot of it's fluff, a lot of it's trying to sell you a course, trying to,
oh man. That's a good point. We're not selling shit. We started this because we know, we definitely talk about this, and we're like, yo, there's got to be people in our same, like, we like in the same type of either wheelhouse or environment, but also like I know how hard it was for me, that I didn't have the advice of someone of where I want to be, like a real estate agent, like a mentor. Like a mentor. I didn't know anyone like that. I mean, we didn't have anyone like that. So I knew how hard it was to like find my way, but I had someone tell me that I should do this, which was really helpful. But they said, you should really try this. And then that's when I started doing it. But the point is, like, this whole thing is just to not only help people that are going through stuff, but also understand, like, there's two guys, there's friends that actually have been through it, and you in one way, me in another, and we know how to help you throughout it, even if it's just listening to us, and you could get nuggets out of this, because we're going to talk a lot about stuff, and we're not selling courses, we're not selling it's just talk. It's just talk, because we know how bad we needed it when we were growing up or getting into the industry, you know?
Exactly. And listening to this may get you in the right track, the right mindset, to then attract the right people, the right environment, and get to where you need to be. I mean, that's the biggest thing you talked about, is you didn't have nobody to help you, but here we are. We're going to be the help. We're going to bypass your time, bypass the headaches. Listen, take peace. By the way, if anybody wants to hit us up on social media, you can follow us at Rewrite the Legacy. On all social,
Instagram, right?
Instagram and our TikTok, YouTube, Spotify,
Rewrite the Legacy. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, the way we came up with that name is just incredible. So it's rewriting it, and it really truly is. I mean, I think this is a great first episode, and I'm glad to, excited to see how it turns out.
Me
Anything
too,
else
man.
you want to add?
No, I'm good. I think we covered it.
This wraps it up. Thanks so much for watching or listening to us online, and we'll see you on episode 2 to Rewrite the Legacy.
Cool.
Real stories, real strategies, real impact. This has been Rewrite the Legacy with Chris and Antonio, available on all podcast platforms. Follow on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify at Rewrite the Legacy Podcast.